For more now, we turn to Face the Nation moderator John Dickerson, and we're going to start with Michael Flynn. And I thought, prior to this press conference, I had a general idea of how things had unfolded and what led to his resignation. After the president spoke, when he said, well, he was doing his job, and hey, if he wasn't doing that, I probably would have told him to do it, though I never told him to do it. It became more confusing.
All right. 4 days, 4 different stories. At the first, Kellyanne Conway said that Michael Flynn had the full trust of the president. The next day, Press Secretary Sean Spicer said he was asked to resign because of ongoing trust issues. Then Donald Trump said at his press conference with Bibi Netanyahu, he said, well, it was all the press is doing. And then finally yesterday, he said what he did when there was that confusion about the original phone call to the Russian ambassador. This is the center of this. Did Michael Flynn tell the truth about talking about sanctions with the Russian ambassador? He did not tell the truth either, according to the Washington Post, to the FBI, or to Mike Pence, the vice president. But the president seemed to sort of fuzzy up or be unclear about what the nature of the phone conversation was. He made it seem like this was just the outreach that Michael Flynn had done during the transition period to 30 different countries. No, the central question is whether he undermined U.S. foreign policy by talking about sanctions and telling to the Russians, hey, if you relax in your response, we'll be nicer to you when we're in office. That was completely confused in the president's account of this. And also, nowhere in any of these versions from the White House has anybody said, he had to resign because you tell the truth to the American people. That's the kind of thing that's just on the default setting of every presidential computer. It's no, we don't lie to the American people. Get that across right away. That still has yet to be a part of the Flynn story.
It's interesting, John. The president said yesterday, the leaks are absolutely real. The news is fake. Can both of those statements be true at the same time?
No, they can't be true. But he, he's in a bit of a bind, right? Because on the one hand, he hates that the leaks are coming out because the leaks represent true behind-the-scenes information. On the other hand, he wants to discredit anything that's harmful about him as fake news. Remember, though, that he was dismissing as fake news the idea that the Russians ever meddled in the election, A, and then B, that anybody in his campaign had been in touch with the Russians. Both of those things have been disproved. And so things that he has labeled as fake news have now caused the National Security Advisor essentially to resign or be fired. And so that kind of general kind of throwing up fake news to block anything has its limitations. The reality is intruding.
And, he was asked repeatedly about his contacts or anybody's contacts with Russia. And he sort of eventually, it was hard to pin him down. He sort of eventually said,
they wanted a yes or no.
I haven't talked to Russia in years. I have no business contacts or connections in Russia, even though we haven't seen his tax return, so we really don't know what sort of connections he has. Is this a sort of a tactic to kind of keep things fuzzy and blurry?
Well, this president came to office because he was a truth teller, and people love the fact that he was so blunt and so honest about things that he cut through all the fuzziness. So when he embraces fuzziness, you have to wonder what's up here. And that question about did anybody from the campaign talk to the Russians during the election, it took 4 or 5 times to get an actual straight answer. And when he said not that I know of, the Washington Post has reported that Flynn had contacts with the Russians during the election. So the president, either somebody hasn't told him or he's not shooting straight. We don't know. But when it takes that many times to get a straight answer out of a president who prides himself on his straight answers, it sows confusion, and it is in a part of this general confusion about his position, why he's so soft on Russia when he is so hard on other countries, and why there are reasons. I mean, remember, Mitt Romney ran for president saying Russia was America's #1 geopolitical foe. So to go from a party that believed that to one that is being so accommodating of Russia when Russia is provoking the United States in various different places, it's a big confusion. And so you seek explanation from a president, and his decision on that topic is not really to explain so much as to kind of fuzzy things up. So it's an ongoing area of inquiry.
John, let's talk about the president's pick for National Security Advisor, retired Vice Admiral Robert Harward, a former Navy SEAL. He turned it down. He says over a staffing issue. What are you hearing?
Well, Major Garrett has reported that it's over a staffing issue, that he wanted to bring in his own people and was told that he couldn't, or he also wanted to move out some people that were there. One of the things I'm hearing from inside the administration in various places is a lot of these these clashes, and this is not unfamiliar to administrations, this is not new to the Trump team, but is secretaries having the power to choose their own people, have dominion over them, also not have somebody from the White House snuck into their staff. Again, that happens in all administrations. The reason anybody would be wary about these staffing issues, though, is when things get hairy, you want to have your team there and you want to make sure there aren't back channels. One of the things we see developing in this administration with the distrust and mistrust and everybody looking over their shoulder is creation of alternative channels of information. This happened in the Nixon administration and others, but that means then nobody knows what the real score is. And it means there's a lot of misinformation. You spend all your time misinforming each other, you're not doing the people's business, and that can get very, very complicated.
It must be for somebody who's somebody like the Admiral to have to deal with issues where he might not know if he's authorized to make a decision. If you've got, for example, Steve Bannon that sits that has the president's ear.
Right. Well, that's right. And that, and also if the president himself is in multiple different places, it's I mean, we don't know what's in his heart, but obviously when a military man who's devoted his life to the service of their country chooses not to come in, that's notable. And so the real danger, not danger, I don't want to be alarmist, but the president needs somebody at his side who understands the world and can give him, because remember, this is a president who has no experience in these areas. And so it's a big deal that this post is not filled and that many other posts are not filled. And so that's the ongoing concern in terms of just the operation of the day-to-day, because stuff is happening, maybe right now, in the world, and the president has to react in a way that's going to have real consequences. And he needs a trusted advisor next to him to help him navigate all that.
John Dickerson, thank you so much.
Sure thing. Thanks.